I'm on the road in Texas, so we're taking this project outside. It's a little bit cold out here, but spring is coming, so let's make a planter box. Stick around and check it out. This is a really easy project that I completed in about 3.5 hours and with less than 20 bucks in materials. I used cedar fence pickets to make this project since it's an outdoor planter. I'll put a link in the description for the plans I made to build these in case you want to play along at home. I also gave this away for free to my email subscribers, so if you want to join in on some great perks like that, go join my email list using the link in the description. I started by cutting the widest parts at the miter saw. These 12 boards are the walls that will form the inside of the planter, and they're almost exactly the width of the fence picket. I always start by cutting the ends off because they're usually very rough and sometimes have cracks and imperfections. When I don't have a stop block to make repetitive cuts, I'll lay the last board on top and push it up against the blade, then make the cut, making sure that they're all exactly the same length. Then it was time to move on to the rest of the parts, which are all 1 and 2 inches wide. I start by trimming off one edge of the board to make sure I had a perfectly straight, clean edge to run against the fence. Then I run all my boards through. If you're using the cut list from my plans, make sure to cut the 1-inch strips from the middle of the boards, or you won't have enough length due to the dog ears on the fence pickets. Once all the strips were cut, it was time to come back to the miter saw to get them all cut to length. I used the same method to make repetitive cuts and followed the cut diagram exactly to make sure I didn't run out of material. You can see I'm making piles over to the left, which coincides with the cut list, so I can track what parts I've already cut and what I still need. I've made so many mistakes by not being this organized that now I've implemented this habit to avoid future mistakes. Now, because I wanted to stain the frame pieces, I decided to sand down all the parts that would be stained so they would accept the stain and not tear up my rag as I applied it. The Festool made quick work of this job. This is certainly not a necessary step, but one I wanted to take to make my life a little easier later. If you were to batch a bunch of these out for sale and didn't need to be extra fancy, you can skip this step altogether and save time. I debated on whether I should stain or paint it for a while, but finally landed on this dark walnut from Minwax. I'm happy with the result, so I would definitely recommend it, but I think a black paint would look really good as well. In hindsight, I probably shouldn't have stained the sides of each part that will be glued, because wood glue doesn't work as well on stained surfaces because staining wood blocks the pores, keeping the glue from penetrating into the wood. But I got on a roll here and just stained away without thinking about it until later. The first step of assembly is to join the legs together into this L shape. I still applied glue, but made sure to put in plenty of brads to hold it together. When you're assembling these, make sure you have 2 pairs of legs that mirror each other, or your planter won't fit together right. It should look like this. You can see it really well here, how the short sides of the legs are on the bench and facing each other. To assemble these sides, I start from the top and attach just one side of each board all the way down, then come back to the other side and attach all those boards. The reason why I do this is because if one board is slightly longer or shorter than the others, then the others may not fit right and you'll have to go back to the miter saw and trim some off. Once 2 of the sides were complete, I set them up on their sides and attached the rest of the inside panels using the same method. Once the box was completed, it was time to start adding the flare. I had to trim a slight bit off the ends of each one to make sure they fit nice and snug. So I did the same thing for the top and the bottom rails. It was only at this point that I realized that the brad nails I used were too long and blew out the other side. So I had to stop the project to fix that and change to 3/4 inch brads. Now that that was taken care of, it was time to cut the cross braces. This was another part that I did by hand, making sure the fit was perfect. Yeah, I could have cut them all per the plans, even if it resulted in gaps because it's an outdoor project, but that would have just really bothered me. So I took the time to make sure everything looked really nice. For these corners, I used 40 degrees for one side and 50 degrees for the other to make a perfect 45-degree angle. And in the plans, that makes a lot more sense. For the cross braces, I first got the ends cut, then measured where to cut it in half to make a snug fit. These cleats were super quick and easy. All I had to do was glue and screw them into place at the bottom of the inside panels. A little glue and brad nails and I was moving along. Transitioning down to the ground, I made quick work of the slats that the pot will sit on. It's not necessary to nail these into place, but I don't want them moving around or falling out as I'm carrying it, so I put 1 or 2 in just to keep them put. The rim was a lot easier than I thought it would be. I measured for the inside length and cut 45s on each end of the boards. Then I took them all over to the bench, lined up all the corners, and put 1 brad nail into each corner just to hold it in place. From there, it was just a matter of putting it on top of the box with some glue and nailing it into place to secure it permanently. At this point, you could add a clear coat or some kind of exterior protection if you wanted to, but otherwise this project is in the books. All that's left to do is stick a plant in it and put it out for the world to see. This is a good way to class up your front porch or to make a big batch to sell for a high profit margin. So go out there and make one for yourself. That's it for this video. We'll see you next time.